You know those two smells that are just so distinct in so many homes? That sharp, clean scent of camphor, and then that super pungent kick of asafoetida in your food? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on where they really come from. Let's dive in.
Seriously, have you ever stopped to think about it? That little white tablet you see on the prayer thali, the one that burns so brightly, where does it actually come from? I mean, is it just cooked up in some factory somewhere? What's the real story?
And then, of course, there's asafoetida. You probably know it as hing, that super powerful pinch that just completely transforms a dish. I'll tell you what, its journey to your spice rack is probably one of the most amazing stories in your entire kitchen. So today, we're going to unravel both these mysteries.
Okay, so let's tackle camphor first. You know, it's so wrapped up in culture and tradition, seen as this big symbol of purity. But where it physically comes from, honestly, for most of us, it's a total mystery. You know, if you ask people, they come up with some pretty logical guesses. Is it some kind of man-made chemical? Maybe a type of mineral? Or even, I don't know, a special stone they dig out of the ground? All great guesses, but they're all completely off.
The real story is, well, it's way more organic and honestly a lot cooler. Real, natural camphor isn't made in a lab or dug out of a mine. Nope, it all starts with a tree.
Yep, a tree. Say hello to the Cinnamomum camphora, the camphor tree. And get this, as the name kind of hints, it's in the same family as the tree that gives us cinnamon. It's native to parts of Asia, and the craziest part is that intense, fresh camphor smell just comes right out of its wood, its leaves, its stems. It's naturally built in.
And we're talking about trees with some serious history. I mean, there's a camphor tree in Japan that's over 1,000 years old, and it's still alive. It's just, wow, a living piece of history that shows you just how resilient the source of this stuff is.
So, how in the world do you get from a piece of wood to that little white tablet? Well, it's this really cool mix of nature and science. First, they harvest the wood and chip it up. Then comes the magic part, a process called steam distillation. They heat the chips, which releases the camphor as a vapor. Then, as that vapor cools down, it crystallizes into this pure powder. The final step? They just press that powder into the tablets we all recognize.
Okay, now here's something you really need to know. There are actually two types of camphor out there. You've got the natural stuff, which comes from the tree using that whole distillation process we just talked about. But then there's also synthetic camphor. That's made in a lab from turpentine oil. It's definitely cheaper and easier to make a ton of it, but for religious and traditional uses, it's always the natural camphor that's seen as pure and, well, the real deal.
And this is where it gets really beautiful, the connection to its spiritual meaning. When you burn real camphor, it vanishes completely. It leaves zero residue behind, no ash, nothing. And that physical act is seen as a symbol of total surrender, of burning away your own ego, leaving behind only purity. Pretty amazing, right?
All right, let's switch gears. We're going from the serene scent of the temple to the punchy aroma of the kitchen. It's time for our second mystery, asafoetida, or as most of us call it, hing. And if camphor's story was all about transformation, the story of hing is one of just incredible patience.
Okay, I want you to just look at this number for a second. 4 to 5 years. What on earth could that mean when we're talking about a spice? Is that how long it takes to ship? How long it lasts on the shelf? What is that?
Nope, that's how long a farmer has to wait. 4 to 5 years of planting and caring for a single asafoetida plant before it's even ready to produce the tiniest bit of spice. Can you imagine? That level of patience is just mind-blowing.
And the demand for this stuff, it's absolutely massive. India alone imports something like $100 million worth of it every single year, mostly from places like Afghanistan and Iran. I mean, that's a huge bill. And it's exactly why there's this big new push to try and grow it in the high-altitude parts of India for the very first time. And the process of getting it is just as painstaking as the waiting. So after those 4 or 5 years, they make a very careful cut near the root of the plant. And from that cut, this milky, sticky resin starts to slowly ooze out. That is the raw asafoetida. They collect it super carefully, but even then, it's still not ready for your kitchen.
Now, here's a really common misunderstanding I want to clear up. You know how it's mixed with rice flour? You might think that's just a cheap filler to add bulk, but it's not at all. The raw resin is so incredibly strong, so potent, that it would just ruin any dish you put it in. Mixing it with flour is actually a crucial step to balance that intense flavor and make it usable for cooking. So it's not an impurity, it's actually part of the recipe.
So as we put these two stories together, this really powerful theme starts to come into focus. It's all about this hidden connection between nature, human ingenuity, and just plain old hard work. I mean, just look at them side by side. You've got camphor, coming from the wood of a giant mature tree, extracted with a scientific process. And then you have asafoetida, coming from the root of a small plant collected by hand after years and years of waiting. Two totally different journeys from different corners of the world that end up as these everyday items with these just extraordinary backstories. So the next time you light a piece of camphor or you sprinkle that pinch of hing into your cooking, maybe you'll see it a little differently. You'll know it's not just a product on a shelf. It's the end result of a tree's life, a plant's incredible patience, a complex scientific process, and a whole lot of human labor.
And that really leaves you wondering, right? If these two simple items have such incredible stories behind them, what other secrets are hiding in plain sight, right there in your own kitchen or on your own shelf?